Hello and welcome to my channel, Planners by Christine. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create a digital planner using an iPad. Now I want to mention that I also have a tutorial that shows you how you can create a digital planner on a laptop. Now when you're done watching this tutorial, you'll want to make sure and watch the follow-up tutorial that will show you how you can use what you've learned today to create a planner that has no lag. So make sure and watch that. Please subscribe to my channel and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is open Keynote and press Create Presentation. Choose a theme. I always choose a classic white. Then we're going to get rid of these things. We don't need any of them. Come up to the three dots, Document Setup, Slide Size, Custom. I like to put the size of my iPad Air, 2360 by 1640. Done, done. So now we're ready to do our background. You could bring in an image or you can just do a color. So to do that, press plus, insert from, and I have this blue leather background that I like to use. And I'm just gonna drag this up to make it fit the whole screen. Now a lot of times when people have a leather looking background, they also like to have it look like they're stitching. To do that, press the plus sign, the shapes, choose the square, fill the whole screen, and the edges of the square is where the stitching is going to be. So you want it to be equally distant from all the way around. And then choose the paintbrush, go to Style, no fill, but we do have a border, and we want to choose the style as the dashes. I'm going to change the color to kind of a dark gray. And then I can use the width, I can play with the width. Then choose a shadow and find one that looks good to you. I think I like this one. And there's that. Next is our paper. So we press plus, the square. I'm going to change this to white. Then I'm going to drag it up. I want to fill half the screen, or nearly half. Then I'm going to copy and paste. And put the other half over here. Now we want to have the pages have kind of a 3D look or a stacked look. So I'm going to select this one and go to the paintbrush. I'm going to give it a border, and just a really small border, just at one point. And then shadow, I'm going to choose this shadow. Then I'm going to copy and paste and adjust it so that the top and the left side line up. Then I'm going to bring this in just a hair, and then I'm going to do the same thing again. Paste, line up the left side and the top and the bottom, and then bring the right side in just a little bit. So it kind of gives it a stacked paper look. Then on the left, same kind of thing. Choose a border and then a shadow. I'm going to do different shadow because if I choose this shadow, this is the side that looks 3D, but we want it to be that side. But on iPad, you can't really control that as well. So I'm going to choose this shadow, and then I'm going to copy and paste it. Line up the top and the left and the right, and then bring the left in a little bit. And then do the same thing again. Paste. So that gives it somewhat of a 3D stacked look. And a side note, this works better on the laptop because you can control you can change the angle of the shadow so that it looks better on the left, but this is what we have on the iPad. Okay, now we're going to bring in the rings. So I'm going to come back to here and insert from. These are rings I got on Etsy. So I want to make it a little bit bigger so that it has the holes looking like they would be in the right place, but as you see, it makes it go off the page. So I go up to the paintbrush, under image I choose edit mask, and then I can come down here and cut this off and choose done, and there's that. All right, now we're going to bring in our tabs. So we'll go to the plus sign and shapes and get a square and bring it over here. Now for colors, you can just choose whatever colors you want, but I find it helpful to use a color palette. And if you go over on Pinterest, you can do a search on color palettes and find lots of options and take a screenshot of it and save it to your camera roll, which is what I've done. So I'm going to go to the plus sign and go to my camera roll and grab one of those that I found. This is actually some paint colors. So then I'm going to select my tab, go to the paintbrush, go to fill, select color, swipe over to the left, and then choose this little paintbrush. And then you have to drag it across a color. So I'm going to choose this color, and I'm also going to do a shadow. So I'm going to go back to the paintbrush, shadow, and I'm going to choose this shadow. Then I'm going to go to arrange, and I'm going to make it go behind the paper. And then I'm going to copy it and paste. And this one I'm going to go to the paintbrush, style, fill, grab a different color. That one's a little bit darker, but I wanted you to be able to see the difference. Paintbrush, arrange, go behind it, or make the tab go behind the paper. And also you want it to go behind this tab so that you can see that shadow. Then I'm going to paste again, which is just pasting the first one, and go to the paintbrush. And it's a little bit tedious, but that's just part of the process. Go to the paintbrush, arrange, go behind. So select one of the tabs, choose select objects. And select the 3 tabs, press done, copy, paste, and then go to arrange and have those go behind, making sure that this one's behind that one. Paste again. So now when I went to paste this in, there wasn't room, so I need to make these all smaller. So I'm going to select one of them, select objects, select all of these, choose done, go to group. Now I can move them up. I'm actually going to delete these because they're not going to, I want to make sure they're all the right size. Select ungroup. And then I'm going to select just 3 of them. Copy, paste. Okay, so now we have 12, but now that doesn't fit all the way down. So I'm going to select one, choose select objects, done, group. Now I can move the whole thing and make them all about the same size. I'm going to delete this because I don't need it anymore. So we have 12 tabs. Now we want to make this into a master slide or create a master slide, because a master slide makes life a lot easier. We're going to tap somewhere on the screen, choose select objects, select all, done, copy. Everything's on the clipboard. So now we're going to tap over here and we want to choose edit slide layout. Now the slide layout, that's how we access the master slide. So I'm going to tap that. It brings this screen up. Everything on the left, these are all master slides. And so we're going to use, we'll use this top one. So we'll just delete the stuff that's currently on there. And then we'll tap here and paste. And then I'm going to press done. So now when we're back on the screen that's not the master slides, I can move things around and it could mess things up, or anyway, we don't want this. So I'm going to press plus and choose. These are all master slides. I'm going to choose this master slide. I'm going to delete the slide that we had initially been working on. And we're just going to work off the master slide. So now you see if I try to move something around, it won't let me. It says you have to edit the master slide or slide layout, which is what we want. That's what we want. We don't want to be able to mess with this. So now we're ready to build our pages, our monthly spread, our weekly spread, our daily spread. The thing that I like to do differently though is I like to actually create those as master slides also. So I'm going to go back into the master slides and I'm going to delete these. So we only have the one, and I'm going to change the title, rename, and then I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to duplicate, and this next one, I'm going to rename it and call this monthly, and then I'm going to build the monthly layout on here. So I'm going to press the plus sign and go to table, and we're going to want 4 columns and 6 rows, because one of the rows is going to be the name of the days of the week, and we want that one to be smaller. So I'm selecting that one row, and I'm going to go back to the paintbrush, and I want to change the size of that one row. So I'm going to go to row and column size, and the height, I'm going to make it 40. And it shrinks the whole thing a little bit. So I'm going to come back over here, oops, and drag it back down. And that's about the right size, I'd say. So now I'm going to copy it and paste it. But over here, I only want 3 columns. But now they're not the right size, so I'm going to lay it over top of this and drag this over until they line up properly. You see how that lines up here? So they're all the same size. Then drag this back. Okay, so now there's the beginnings of our monthly spread. Now this is going to be an undated planner, so we're going to have little squares in the corner of each box. So I'm going to go to the plus sign, shapes, and I'm going to actually use the rounded rectangle and drag that up there. And I'm going to change the color. And this has the colors that we put in on the tab. So I'm going to choose one of these. I think that's a good color. So I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'm going to fill the entire screen so every square has one. All right, so now all of the boxes have a little square where people can write in the date. This is also what we can tie the link to link it to the daily spreads. Now, one thing I want to mention here is I'm going to have a different tutorial to show how to prevent lag, because this is going to end up having a large file size when we export it to PDF. And there's a way around that. But what we're doing now is something we'll need to do regardless. So this is still something that's useful to see how to do. There's a certain point where we'll do things a little bit differently, but it gets a little bit complicated to try to teach you how to create a planner and also teach you how to prevent the lag with this other method. So we'll just move on, and I'll show you how to create the planner initially, and then the other video will show you how to deal with the lag or to prevent the lag. Now we're also going to want to have a link to our weekly spread. So I'm going to back to the plus sign, and this time I'm going to use this little triangle, and we'll put that in the corner of each. I'm going to change the color to match. And then we're going to copy this and paste it. Select objects and copy 2 of them. Done. Copy, paste. Just copy and paste 1. Okay. I'm going to press done. So now I can come over here and add monthly. If we want to make a change to all of the monthly screens at once, we just have to go into the master slide, and we can change the color, for example, on one place, and it'll change it everywhere. So before I go on, I'm going to go ahead and add the name of the month. And I'm going to change the font. So I come over to the paintbrush, go to text, and choose a different font. We'll choose this one. And also I can make it bigger. So we have our month. So now that we have 1 month, one other thing I want to do before we move on, because we did create this in the master slide, these little squares, we cannot tie a link to it because it's just an image. So we do have to put an empty box over top of it. We'll go to the plus sign, go back to this, and then we'll go over to style, and we'll say no fill. So now we just have an empty box, but that's what we can tie the link to. So I'm going to copy and paste it. All right. So all of these little squares have something to tie the links to. We need to do the same thing with the triangles. And then all those are set as well. So now that we have all that done, now we want to duplicate this monthly spread 11 times. So I'm going to come over here and choose copy, and then I'm going to go paste. And another faster way to do it is to select one, tap all these, copy, and paste. All right, so now we have all of the months. So we just need to go through and change the months to be the right month. Okay, so now that all of the months are filled in, then we say, hey, look, there's this white space here. Actually, I think I want to have something there. So I'm going to tap on this, go back into my master slide, and now I'm going to come over here and add another column. I just want one column, and I'm going to make it notes. So I'm just going to put a whole bunch of lines. Also, we didn't put the days of the week in. So not a big deal because this is a master slide. So the only thing that's unique to the slides on the other part of the program are the names of the months and those little squares to tie the links to. So on here, I'm going to come over here and press text. And I'm going to change the font to be the same font and have it kind of sit right on top. And then I want to put in my days of the week. I'm going to select this whole row in this table, come to the paintbrush, go to cell. I'm going to change my font to be the Bradley hand that I've been using. And let's change the font size. Let's try 35. We'll see how that looks. Then we come in here, double click, and then I can type in Sunday. I also need to come over here and select this row and do the same thing, so I didn't do it ahead of time. So remember, we're in our master slide, but I'm going to press done. But you'll see that these things I just did, they're all here because I did it in my master slide. So these all have the same changes, which is a beauty of master slides. I love it. So the next thing we're going to do is create our weekly spread. So I'm going to come over here, edit slide layout, which takes us to our master slide. Oh, and this is something that I've noticed happens with Keynote. See how there's two of them all of a sudden? So I'm going to go to the top one, I'm going to choose delete, and it's going to say, well, one slide is using it. So which do you want to use instead? I'm going to choose this monthly, choose, and then it'll delete the extra. I don't know why that happens. Something Keynote does. Anyway, we're good. So I'm going to go to master and I'm going to duplicate it. And this one I'm going to call weekly, and then I'm going to create my weekly spread. So I'm going to go to the plus sign, go to the table. This time I'm going to do 3 columns. So actually, let's start on this side with a 4 so we can make sure they're the same size. So I'm going to come over here, have it stretch to the whole thing, and I want to have 5 columns, so that's what we want. But I want 2 of them to be really thin because I'm just going to put a bar of color in between. So I'm going to choose 2 of them. So I chose select cells and let me choose both, and I choose done. Then I'm going to come to here and table. We're going to go to row and column size, and we want the height to be smaller. So I'm going to put 30. Actually, I want it to be even smaller. I'm going to say 15. Now when I come back over here, I'm going to stretch it out. That's about what I want it to look like. Now I'm going to copy and paste it, but I only want 3 columns because there's only 7 days in the week. And then I'm going to come over here and line this up, drag this over until they line up, and then bring this back over here. All right, so we have 7 columns, 1 for each day of the week, and I want to put a circle above each column so that the date can be written in. So I'm going to go to shape and grab a circle. I think that's about the size I want. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to style, no fill, but I do want a border. Let's make it 2. I'm going to select it and copy, and then I'm going to paste. Then I'm going to go select objects, select both, copy, paste, paste. Then I'm just going to select one, copy, paste. Now to make sure they're all lined up, I'm going to select one, select objects, and then select all 7, go to the paintbrush, go to arrange, then I want to align them at the top, so I'm going to tap this one. So I think that's about where I want it, and then I'm going to put the names of the days above, so I'm going to go to text, and I'm going to actually move this down a little bit because it feels like a little crowded up there. So I'm going to change this to Sunday and change the font. I think the size is about right though. Let's just kind of set it on top. Now I'm going to copy and paste. Okay, I have all the days of the week, but I want them to line up. So I'm going to select objects and select all 7. Then I'm going to come to arrange and I want them to line up bottom. Now I'm going to add a place for notes on the left, or maybe a to-do list or something. So let's do a to-do list. So I'm going to come over here. I just want 1 column, or no, I'm going to do 2 columns. Kind of tight for a to-do list, but we'll see how it looks. Let's add a whole bunch of lines. Let's not do a to-do list. It's just not enough room. I was going to do a checklist, but there's not room to have a little checkbox. So I'm just going to put that, and then I'm going to copy. Actually, I just need to paste because it's already on our clipboard. And then just call this to do. Okay. So pretty much we're done with that. So I'm going to come down here. Let me actually select the bottom one so it goes underneath it. Choose weekly. So there's our weekly spread, and I left the master slides. This is in our other screen. So what we would want to do then is create 60 of them, because there's 12 months and each month has 5 triangles. And again, this is undated. So we aren't going to be able to have one weekly spread that's used at the end of one month and the beginning of another month if the weeks overlap, since it's an undated. So you would want to create 60 copies. So stay tuned, because I'm going to have that tutorial on how to create a planner without lag. And so in that case, we're not going to need to make a bunch of copies in this Keynote. We're going to have a separate Keynote. So at this point, we're just creating all the spreads because that's what takes the longest. So now let's go back into our master slides. Let's duplicate. And this one we're going to call daily. And then on our daily spread, we are going to have a few things on here like appointments and checklists, things like that. So let me do a plus sign, do a table. We're just going to have 1 column. And I want it to be about half the width of the page. And I'm going to put 36, I think is what I want, because I have my day start at 5 a.m. and end at 9:30 p.m. So first of all, let's go ahead and put in the times. So I'm going to grab some text. So let's change our font. We're also going to need to make it a little bit smaller. So put it in our first little section here. So we'll copy and paste. And the way to do this a little bit faster is just to do a few, well, like I did the first 2. So I'm going to select the first one, select objects, choose the other one. Whoops. They're teeny. Makes it a little bit tricky. Done. Copy, paste. And then just change that to a 6. And then we're going to copy all 4 and then change those numbers, etc. So you'll do that for the whole thing. All right, so once we have all of the times in, let's select this table. Come over here. We're going to take off the table outline, and then we can do our alternating rows like that. Or another thing to do is to come over and select every other row. And then on those rows, we want to come to the cell, go to cell border, choose the upper cell, and change the color to kind of a really light gray. And it looks like this. And actually, I want to have a dark line at the top and bottom, just not on the sides. So I'm going to come back, select the whole table. I'm going to say table outline, but I don't want it on the side. So I'm going to come over to cell border. And on this side, make it white, and on this side, make it white. Okay, next I want to have a little place at the top for people to put in a date. So I'm going to do the plus sign. I'm going to grab this shape, go to the paintbrush, no fill, but have a border. And then I want to do a checklist. So I'm going to go to the plus sign, table, and I'm just going to have 2 columns. I'm going to select this column because I want it to be smaller, and go to table and go to row and column size. And let's make this 40. That's too small. Make it a little bigger. Well, actually, when we stretch this out, it'll make it bigger. And let's add more rows. I feel like this is too small, so I'm going to actually move this over which means I want to move this over so it lines up. Then I can make this a little bigger. What I want to do now is put a little checkbox, a little check mark in this square. So I'm going to go to plus, shapes, go to search, and type in check. There's a check mark. I'm going to drag that down to make it smaller. And then in this box, I'm going to put text, and this is going to say work tasks. We'll just center it on there. And I also want the color I want to have a color there, so I'm going to highlight that, come over to the paintbrush, go to cell, and go to cell fill, go to color, and we'll choose this color. So I'm going to select objects and choose the words, the check mark, and the box, choose done, and then choose group, because now I can select it and copy and then paste it and have one right above it. And then I'm going to select that and ungroup, and then I'm going to double click on that and change that to personal tasks. So now we have two little check boxes there. All right, so there's this little space at the top. We can just leave that blank or put something there, whatever. Let's go ahead and put in what I've done in other planners. I'm going to have it line up with the items near it, and then I'm going to go to the paintbrush, style, fill, color, and select the same color. Then I'm going to copy and paste and change it to say today's focus. Okay, the left side's done. And on the right hand side, we can put a place to track our meals, a meal log. So we'll go to the table. I'm just going to have one column, but I want 5 rows, which I have. And the top row I want to be a little narrower. So I'm going to come to the format, table, row and column size. Let's make this 40. And let's go ahead and paste in the text we already had and say meal log. Let's go ahead and make that the color as well. I'm gonna actually make this the whole thing. Now that I did that, I need to move meal log to be in the middle. And then I'm gonna do paste because that text is still on my clipboard. Type in breakfast. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Let's copy that and paste that. So now we want them to all line up. So I'm gonna select objects, select all 4, press done, arrange, distribute to the left, and there we have our meal log. And then at the bottom, I'm just going to put a box where people can put in whatever they like. So I'm going to put in a plus sign, grab a box, style, no fill, but we do want a border, and that's it for our daily spread. Done. So I'm going to go ahead and add it over here. So if we wanted to change the color, if we made a whole bunch of copies of these, because we would need, if it was a dated planner, we need 365. For an undated planner, you need 420. So if we were to make all those copies and we decided we wanted to have a different color or we wanted to change the look of it, that would be okay. You would just come to edit slide layout, go to your daily slide, make the changes, and it would change it in all of the daily spreads because you have a master slide. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is do the linking. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we will export it and see what size it is. And this is going to be, it shouldn't be very big because I haven't made copies of all the pages. But to make links, you come to your monthly slide, your monthly page, and well, before we do that, we're going to have to make some copies. So I'm going to select the weekly slide and I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to just select 2 of them, copy and paste. So now we have 4. We have 8. Let me add 2 more. So now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's copy and we'll paste. And really we would do this so we have 60. So now there's 73. So 60 weekly spreads, the 12 monthly spreads, and that one blank one at the top that we could use for an index or whatever. And then let's just do a few of our daily spreads. So we'll copy and paste. Copy and paste. We'll just do the 4. that'll be enough to get us started. So we go to January, and now we need to, let's paste in a few of our weekly spreads. So we need to come down here and see that the first weekly spread is slide 14. So we go up to January, we select that box, we choose link, we say link to slide, and then we choose 14. And you see how it created this little arrow? So that's how we know there's a link. So let's go ahead and do a couple of them. This will be linked to slide 15. Unfortunately, there's not a shortcut to this. It's just kind of tedious, and it's faster if you do it on a computer. So if you go into iCloud and open up this presentation in iCloud, then you can use your computer if you have one to do this more quickly. So we have, this is 14, this is 15. So now let's go ahead and do some of our daily spreads just because I want to show you the best way to kind of double check your work. So our first daily spread is slide 74. So let's go back to January, link to slide 74, link to slide 75. I'm just going to do a few of them here. And we don't want to choose next slide because if we add things in, it'll mess things up. So you want to specify the slide that you're linking it to. Whoops. So when you've done the whole month and all the little arrows on all the boxes, what you'll want to do is come back and make sure that you didn't skip any numbers or duplicate any numbers. So 74, 75, 76, 77. So you're like, okay, I did it all correctly. The other way that you can kind of double check your work is if you go to December, the very last box, the number that's here should match the number of the very last daily spread slide. So that's another way to kind of make sure you did it right. Because it's harder to test it when it's undated. On a dated planner, you would have made all of your daily slides, you would have written in the date, and then you could check and specify, you could check to make sure that the date specifically matches the date of the daily spread, but there's not a way to do that in an undated planner. We need to go ahead and create links to our tabs. So I'm going to go back into our master slide. Let's come over to this one. I'm going to do the plus sign and text. I'm going to say Jan for January. I'm going to change my font. I'm going to go to arrange and rotate it. Then I'm going to grab it and bring it over here, make this a little bigger. And then I'm going to copy and paste it. All right. So once we have all of our labels in, we can go ahead and create links. So just to make sure, okay, January is slide 2. So let's edit slide layout, which takes us into the master slide. And it was this one that I did it in. So I'm going to select that, go to link to slide 2, link to slide 3, and go through and do all of those. So once we have all the links, we can come back here and select objects and choose all of them. And then we'll copy, and then we can go to the other pages and paste. These are the other master slides. And now all of our slides have links to the monthly slides. All right, so now we want to export. So we go to the 3 dots, export, PDF, and we just leave the defaults and choose export. It's creating the PDF. And honestly, this is something I usually do on my laptop because it'll crash my iPad because a file will be too big, which will lead into our tutorial on how to create a lag-free planner, because we use what we've done here, but we also do things a little bit differently. And you can see how long this is taking. Like, this is taking too long. It's going to be a really large file. All right, so once it's finished, we'll choose share, and I'm going to share it to files, and you'll want to just know where you're sharing it. I'm putting it on my iPad in a folder called Planners and Tutorials, and I'm going to press save. And then I'm going to go to it. Let's see what size it is. So the one I just did is this one. It's 63 megabytes. Not terrible, but remember, we only did 4 daily spreads. We need 420. If we had actually completed all the links, it would be way larger, and you don't want one that big because you're going to have a lot of lag. So I'm going to create another tutorial that you can watch right after this one that will show you how to use what you've just learned and apply it to the technique that will allow you to create a planner without any lag. So please subscribe to my channel, and if you found this video helpful, please like it.